So you've trained hard, hit your calories, and ticked what seems like every single box. But for some reason, the evening comes around, you finish work, and suddenly, before you know it, you find yourself back in the cupboard looking for something to eat. And it's usually shit food. And this happens over and over and over again. You tell yourself you're hungry, but are you really hungry? See, most guys think hunger is simple. You feel hunger and you eat. Or if you're in a dieting phase or you're trying to diet down to lose some weight, you just push through the hunger and it's just part of life. But the truth is, hunger has layers. Hunger is like an onion. So if you don't know how to read the signals properly, you'll keep slipping back up and you're going to keep spiraling and you're going to keep going back to your old habits of going to the press every evening and self-sabotaging what you're doing with your diet. And what I've noticed, particularly from working with a lot of guys over the last couple of years, is that it's actually nothing to do with the fact that you're lazy. It's nothing to do with that, and it's definitely nothing to do with the fact that you're weak and you're not able to stick to a diet. That's not anything to do with it. The real reason for it is simple. It's literally just because you're reacting to something that you don't fully understand yet. And I'm hoping today, when I break down something that I call the hunger hierarchy, or say that word properly, it's a system that I teach all the guys inside my program, the Life Lift Repeat project. I'm hoping that once I break it down for you today, you will have a little bit of a better understanding of what hunger is and why it's completely normal to feel hungry all the time. Not all the time, but and what you can do to kick hunger cravings to the curb completely, as it may be. So just to start by prefacing this, there's a belt system that I use inside my program. This is the green belt that we're talking about here. So this is a little bit more advanced. This is more for people who have been dieting for a while. You've had some success. You've got your habits nailed down on a regular basis. You've lost your initial level of body fat, but now it's starting to feel hard. And it feels like you're hungry all the time. You can't wait to eat food. It's becoming a little bit of a poor relationship with food. So just so that you have that out there before I start getting into this. The reason why most diets fail isn't really because people don't know what to eat. Because at this point, if you've already been dieting for a while, you know what to eat. You've lost the initial level of body fat. You know how to do that. But it's because they don't know why they're even eating in the first place. So you need to identify the reason why you're actually eating. So you might think that you're hungry, but maybe you're not hungry at all. Maybe you're just stressed. Maybe you're bored. Maybe it's just a habit for you to eat at that time. Or maybe your environment, the place that you are, the people that you surround yourself with, is actually tricking you into feeling like you're hungry. And if you're not able to tell the difference between what types of hungers that there is, then you're going to keep saying that you've got low willpower, and you're going to keep wondering why you keep messing up, as it were, your diet. That's why I have the hunger hierarchy inside. I don't know how many times I'm going to have to say it. That's why I have it inside my program. And this is what I want to talk about today. I want to give it to you. I want you to be able to take this. I want you to be able to action this. I want to bring it with you forward. The hunger hierarchy is broken down into 5 different levels, which I'm going to just get my screen share up here. So we can break the hunger hierarchy down into 5 different levels. Phase 1 is real physical hunger. This hunger is the real deal. This one will come on slowly. It's going to start in your stomach and it's going to show up with low energy. You're going to have brain fog. It's the kind of hunger that you need to be calm and you need to be clear about how you respond to it. Don't respond to this kind of hunger with panic or guilt. If you're deep into a fat loss phase, which you probably are if you're listening to this video, sometimes having a little bit of this is completely normal. It's okay to feel hungry at this point. Because you've been dieting, your calories a little bit lower. That's completely normal. The key is to learn how to manage it, which I'm going to teach you today, and not to be afraid of hunger. Number 2, phase 2, level 2, whatever we want to refer to it as, is emotional hunger. Emotional hunger is probably the most common one that I've ever seen from any client that I've ever worked with. And this is just going to show up mainly when you're stressed, when you're overwhelmed, or when you're just, when you're mentally just tapped out. As men, we balance a lot of shit in our lives. There's a lot of stuff that goes on. Sometimes you just mentally tap out, and that's going to make you get a little bit emotional around your food. Even though it feels like it's not something that we should do, it is. It happens. Emotional hunger is urgent. You can feel in your chest, in your head, not in your stomach. Your stomach won't be growling at you when you're emotionally hungry. And it often can trigger your cravings for comfort, not fuel. So you ever get home from work after a really stressful day in work and you can't seem to think clearly, and all you want to do is go to the press and grab that donut that you knew was sitting there all day. That's because you have that emotional attachment to the stress that you have that's making you go and get the food. The third layer of the hunger hierarchy is your environmental hunger is what goes on around you can actually affect you as well. So picture this as a scenario. You've walked into the kitchen and you see a packet of biscuits sat on the table, or you've smelt toast that someone else is cooking. All of a sudden, before you know it, you're hungry. But you weren't hungry before you walked into the room and seen the packet of biscuits or smelt the toast. That is environmental hunger. Another really common example of this is when you're sat down watching the TV in the evening and a McDonald's or Domino's ad comes on and it looks fucking amazing. All of a sudden you're craving whatever the thing is that came on the TV. That's environmental hunger. You weren't hungry 10 seconds ago and all of a sudden now you're hungry. And this can be such a common thing that if you can control your environment when you're trying to drop body fat, then you can actually have a really good result because you're not going to be tempted by all these little things. The fourth one is habitual hunger. Habitual hunger is just a timing thing, to be honest. So let's just say, for instance, every day you're always eating at 12 o'clock. Your brain's just going to expect you to eat at 12 o'clock every day because it's what your body's used to. Even if you had a massive breakfast that morning, about 2 hours before 12 o'clock, you're not necessarily going to want to eat. You're not going to be hungry, but your body's going to be like, oh, I need to eat right now. So it's not necessarily about need. It's more about the routine of it then. So one trick that I give my clients would be just to delay your meals 10 to 15 minutes. You'll learn very quickly whether you're actually hungry or whether you're just on autopilot. So if you eat like immediately after you feel hungry, then you're just satisfying the need. And if it's habitual, then you're not really hungry, so you might not necessarily need it. So just take 5 or 10 minutes, 10, 15 minutes, whatever it may be, before you go straight in and eat. And then number 5, the last one, is craving hunger. And unfortunately, this is the one that everyone seems to think is what real hunger is. Because when you're on a diet, people always think that you're cravings. I have cravings. I've got these mad cravings. I can't wait to eat this. But it might not be a craving. It might be one of the other hunger cues showing up here. So cravings aren't actually hunger, which is funny. You want a specific thing, and it's usually a high reward food, like a crisps, chocolate, pizza, whatever it may be. It's a dopamine driven thing when it comes to cravings. You're just chasing stimulation, not satisfaction. So that doesn't necessarily have to relate to food either. Like that could quite literally relate to other stuff. Like if you scroll through Instagram when you're stressed, that's a dopamine hit too. You know, if you turn to porn when you're feeling overwhelmed, just to relieve some stress, that is also a quick dopamine hit because you're probably either single or else you're disconnected from your partner. But that's a story for a different day. But that's cravings. Cravings are never really from hunger. Cravings are literally just an emotional attachment. You go to food because it feels comfortable and it's easy and it tastes nice. Let me just stop sharing. So the response space is something that I use with my clients in the Life Lift Repeat project. This is something you can take forward from this video into future life for yourself. So this is where things can really start to change and you can really see some quick wins when you implement this stuff. When hunger starts to show up, instead of reacting, pause. We always want to pause. Whenever you feel a little bit hungry, you have to just take a second. You need to ask yourself, based on the hunger hierarchy that I just went through there, the 5 different steps, what type of hunger is this? Like, what is this type of hunger? What do I actually need right now? Do I need food? Or do I actually just need to calm myself? Am I super stressed? Can I do some meditation instead? And how do I want to respond to this situation? If you just take 10 seconds before you go and you grab some food, this will let you reclaim your control. This will ground your central nervous system and allow you to act from a place of clarity rather than reactiveness, which is not what we want to do. We never want to react in a reactive state. So inside the Life Lift Repeat project, as I've already said, we're working through different belt phases. The green belt phase, that's this phase here. This is the 3rd phase in. This is where you need to know what happens after you finish your diet, moving into your recomp phase or your muscle building phase. It becomes long term. The problem for a lot of guys is they'll do the dieting phase and they don't come off the back of it. They don't reverse properly out of it and they end up spiraling back and putting all the weight back on. That is where the hunger hierarchy can come in really, really handy because you can use it to identify when old habits are slipping back in. So just to finish on this one, remember, you don't need more willpower. It's nothing to do with the fact that you've got poor willpower, right? Because I genuinely believe, hand on my heart, that anybody in the world can drop body fat and keep it off for life. That's what I believe. That's my philosophy. And you think that you've got poor willpower, but it's just because you don't know your hunger cues. You don't need another food rule. You don't need a fancy diet. You don't need any of this shit, right? You just need to understand yourself a little bit better. You need to understand why you do things on a daily basis. Because when you can get to the point where you realize that not all hunger is real, but when you know what type of hunger you're dealing with and how to respond to it, you're going to just stop feeling like food is your boss. You're going to stop feeling like food controls you. And you'll actually start feeling like you're in charge of your actions every day. So stop letting food dictate everything you do every day. Take 10 seconds before you do anything, before you put food in your mouth. Take 10 seconds. Think, what type of hunger is this? If you want a copy of the hunger hierarchy on a page or a sheet, just drop me a message on my Instagram page, Gavin Bennett _ LLRP, and I'll send it over to you. And if you want to talk through any of this stuff, I'm always happy to chat. For now, thanks for listening along.